As we mentioned, we all went to the protest over the weekend on Monday. Not a great turnout, about 100 people or so. But some of the people that I noticed that were at this protest, they brought their guns with them, about 4 or 5 of them, and they were dressed up, for lack of a better term, like a GI Joe, which is their right. And I've never said that it wasn't their right to do that. But one of those guys, his name is Duncan Lemp, and he was nice enough. I gave him my card at the protest, and he was nice enough to call me a stand-up guy for doing that, and I appreciate it. He's from Battleborn Igloo, and he joins us right now on the line. Duncan, I appreciate you joining us. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Duncan?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I appreciate you coming on, Duncan. So let me start with this question. For people that are unfamiliar with your group, can you talk a little bit about your group and why it was you felt like it was important to be there over the weekend?
Yes, we definitely want to go and support anybody that's in they're there supporting their First Amendment. You know, that they have a right to say something and protest that's about something they disagree with, which, you know, we're constitutionalists and we support that, and we wanted to be there in support of. We go caring because we also support the Second Amendment. Without the Second Amendment, we wouldn't really have the First Amendment.
Right.
Sure, and I understand that. So it brings me to my next question. By the way, for the record, I've never said you guys were breaking the law. It is absolutely your right to do what you do. I want to be very clear on that. But I want to ask you this question. Do you,
yes,
from a standpoint of
follow the law?
No, and absolutely, and I haven't said otherwise. Just so you know. With that being said, with all the gun violence in the world, particularly in this country, the mass shootings, do you understand, Duncan, why some people would find it very intimidating and quite frankly scary to see you guys dressed as G.I. Joe carrying your AR-15s? You do understand that it's something that can intimidate people. Do you understand that side of it?
Yes, we're aware that there's those who might be a little terrified of it. The point isn't to make people afraid. It's to show people and to, I guess, bring up a dialogue to allow them to, hey, what's the reason for this? And so we can speak about it, get the message out, and hopefully inform them, like, hey, this is really not that scary like you think it is.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm not saying you were one of those people, but there was somebody in your group that was swearing at, and I saw this with my own eyes and heard it, the cars going by saying, get the F out of your car. You're not doing jack, you know what. So my question is, why would he be doing that? And I don't expect you to speak for him, but he was one of the people that was in your group. Why was he saying those things and being rude to the cars that were driving by?
I think the idea was a drive-through protest. I mean, even saying it is silly. Everything we do in America is increasingly becoming more and more lazy. We don't even do drive-thrus anymore. We have people deliver food to us from drive-through places. A drive-through protest is an even more lazy version of that. Sitting in your car is not telling anybody anything because, you're not actually standing for what you believe in. I cannot imagine a situation where everybody sitting in their car is going to make anybody think, well, you know what, maybe they're right. Let's listen to them.
But don't you think that a part of that...
Get out and say that.
Understood, but don't you think a part of that could be social distancing, that they're practicing social distancing and they're trying to do it responsible?
For example, exact people, for the most part, that were at the last protest, and they were not practicing social distancing.
Well, then I agree with you. Then you know what? Then I agree with you. But I would
critical, to do it now after you already weren't doing it. It's too late by then.
And that's a valid point, but my response to that would be, well, wouldn't you rather them practice social distancing than go about their ways before?
I think that they have the right to do it however they want, and I would want them to do how they felt safe doing so. I recognize several of the people, actually a lot of the people there from prior protests. So that
I got you.
I think it was more of like, we get it. It was hot outside. Maybe they were just hot and didn't want to be in the sun for whatever reason. But like I said, sitting in your car though in a drive-through protest is not protesting. And
all right, I understand.
It's infuriating that we're there trying to support.
Right. I get your point.
And they're just not doing so.
I get your point. So let me ask you this. And again, I'm going to preface this again.
You're just saying what they're doing wasn't effective, but it's not going to move the needle at all from the governor's perspective or somebody like that.
So, from this perspective, and I understand you're practicing your First Amendment right. I understand you're practicing your Second Amendment right. I'm with you on that. Like I said, and like you said, you weren't breaking the law. With that being said, what are you actually, in your opinion, accomplishing? Do you think that if you show up with your guns and you look like G.I. Joe, the governor is going to see you on TV and he's going to say, well, you're laughing, but I think it's a serious question. Do you think the governor
I've never been referred to as G.I. Joe?
Well, I mean,
Most
that's
of
what
the
you
people that come in kit and gear.
All right, yeah, you guys were decked out basically in military garb.
But
you're wearing military garb.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you ever serve?
Military. It's not. Yes, absolutely.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I'm speaking as someone who's ex-military.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Let me just finish my question. But from my perspective, that's what you look like. And by the way, thank you for your service.
Fair. That's fine. I get.
And I appreciate your service.
Sure.
And I'm glad you served this country, because obviously you know a little thing or two about the battle and risking your life for this country, and I appreciate you for that and your service. But my question still stands. Do you think Governor Sisolak is going to see you guys on television and say, wow, those guys are decked out, they've got their AR-15s. Geez, I better open everything up. I mean, what do you actually think you're going to accomplish by showing up decked out like that, or people in their cars, with their Trump signs and your flags? Do you really think that the governor is going to change his mind because you're out there with a couple hundred people?
I can't imagine just because a few hundred of us are out there, or just a couple of us are out there armed, that him personally is going to see that and say, oh, gee, I better listen to them. But it's more of a hope that that other people see it and know they're not alone. If they have the same opinions on it, we don't want them, we want them to be not afraid of such, to participate in such things. We're aware that one or two of us is not going to change the governor's mind if they see a picture of us on the news or whatever. We're aware of that. We're not retarded.
And Duncan, I'll tell you this. There's going to be one more on May 16th, and it'll be a much more organized situation with a better turnout. That being said,
I thought there was. I just saw a thing saying there was another one at the Grand Torrey Building coming up on Saturday.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bunch of them coming up.
There's one this Saturday at night from 5 p.m.
Duncan,
to 8 p.m.
do you consider Battleborn Igloo to be a form of Nevada militia?
A Nevada militia? No, absolutely not.
Okay.
So here's another question that we don't consider ourselves a militia. That's just a place for people who have like-minded thoughts of, in the political world and real world that we think to meet up and get to know each other, kind of like that.
All right, so Duncan, let me kind of pose this to you. So obviously we've been talking about the situation of opening up Nevada. When I think about when I saw you guys out there on Saturday, is it fair to say, or fair to maybe to ask you this question, that your motivation wasn't necessarily the open up Nevada cause, but you guys are more aligned with, you want to make sure that you preserve the Second Amendment, right? Your ability to carry arms, your ability, your guys, a major part of the reason you guys were out there is Second Amendment rights, and the fact that you might, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that you think that they're somehow at risk when it comes to, having Steve Sisolak as the governor or having Democrats in charge. You feel that there is some type of risk out there that you may have your rights taken away?
Yes, absolutely. The Second Amendment right is constantly under fire. To say otherwise is a lie, and we all know this. They just, the California governor, the judge in California just tried to repeal the law saying that you don't need to have your ID license or background checks to just purchase ammo, and then it was immediately taken away again. That's a huge infringement, and the purpose of the Second Amendment, in the states, shall not be infringed. We have concerns that each of these laws and the things that they're passing is another infringement upon our right.
Wait, hold on a second. So you don't think you should have to show a driver's license to purchase ammo?
Ammo? No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
So any nut job who maybe is a serial killer or somebody that is a convicted felon,
you have no take anything and make it a weapon, and trying to act like,
okay, hold on a second.
Need ammo. That's crazy.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's go back to my question. Let's go back to my question, though. You are okay with hold on a second. For the record, okay, you cannot compare stabbings to mass shootings. Okay, 59 people died in Las Vegas.
Are there mass stabbings
out
there?
There are not mass stabbings. See, I'm sorry, I disagree with you. But let's go back to what I just said. For the record, you are okay with convicted felons not showing any form of identification and buying as much ammo as you want. Is that your position, sir?
My position is that individuals should have the right to defend themselves.
So the answer is yes. So the answer is yes. Okay, I think that's ridiculous.
Scenario, looking for.
No, I'm going by a scenario, and I'm going by no.
Which makes them automatically some kind of evil villain.
Okay, excuse me. A convicted felon who has killed, a convicted felon who has murdered somebody is an evil person.
What are they doing?
No, it's very simple. There are reasons. Excuse me. There are reasons why convicted felons are not allowed to buy guns. There's a reason for that,
I'm aware
and
of
it's
that.
And it's the same reason why I'm not okay with a convicted felon buying ammo. I'm trying to understand why you don't understand that.
I just told you. I believe that each individual has a right to choose for themselves. You're like I said, you're going for the worst.
All right.
Case
So
scenario.
fair enough. So whether it's a worst case scenario or not, it's still a scenario.
To push your own propaganda.
All right. So listen.
The question is, the average Joe.
No, that is a real question,
to
sir.
Go in and pick up some ammo. Yeah, I believe they have right to defend themselves.
With all due respect, sir, that is a real question. I'm going to ask you another real question. That's my job. Let's just say your neighbor is a convicted felon. Let's just say your neighbor shot somebody 20 years ago, just got out of jail. You live with your family. You're okay with your neighbor buying guns, buying ammo, doing whatever they want to protect themselves. In your opinion, you're okay with your neighbor having 100 guns in his house and thousands of rounds of ammo, who killed somebody and was just in jail for 15 years. You're okay with someone next to you who just threatened his wife, that batters his wife. You're okay with anybody on the planet Earth. You could say
their wife. Why would we not just take them away from that situation? If someone is beating
well,
someone,
because it's not that easy, sir. There are laws, and
we believe in violating the NAP. The non-aggression
That's not
policy.
true.
If someone, yeah, we do. Our group is very much in agreement with the NAP. If someone is harming another individual,
okay,
then you'd be punished for that crime. So,
all right, let's go with that. Okay, fair enough. Let's go with that,
I
Duncan.
absolutely don't believe it's somebody who's beating on another person to have a gun.
All right, fair enough.
What
I'm glad you feel that way.
I believe that I have the right to just pick up a firearm and defend myself and my family.
Okay, but you're not a convicted felon, I would imagine, and you serve this country honorably, and I'm totally okay with you doing that. But the point I'm trying to make is this. If a man threatens his wife, threatens the life of his wife, she calls the police. She calls the police. He probably won't even spend a day in jail. They might book him. They might bring him in. As soon as he walks out of that police station, in most states, he is legally allowed to purchase a gun after threatening the life of his wife. Are you okay with that?
So why would she not then therefore go and get a weapon to defend herself?
So your answer...
What we believe in is self-governance.
So let's just have a gunfight then.
If someone is threatening your life, then you have a right to defend yourself. She should have a right to defend herself.
So that woman is shaking. She's nervous. She believes her husband is going to buy a gun and kill her, and your response to her is, well, he's allowed to do that. You can buy a gun too. That's your response?
She's an adult, and she can make her own decisions. If she's
That's
worried
not
about
what I
that,
said.
There are options which she could take. You're assuming that this person is just the person locked away in a closet and has no way of defending themselves or getting out of a situation. I'm sorry, I was raised, I have many sisters, I have a mother, I have a wife, I have a daughter. Every single one of them know that if their life was in danger or somebody was to threaten them, that they would take action against it. They wouldn't just sit around and wait for it to happen.
So your answer to rectify the situation is you're okay with that person who's mentally ill or challenged that's threatening someone else. You just want a gunfight.
There's already a law about that.
But you just want to, that's not true. In every state, there's not a law about that. In some states, that person who is released from jail is allowed to purchase a gun. That's why I asked the question.
No, you said mentally ill. Mentally ill people who are convicted of being or have been hospitalized for mental illness are not allowed to purchase.
Well, how about the school shooter? How about the school shooting a few years ago where that kid, 69 times police went to his house. He was still allowed legally to purchase a gun, so I'm sure even you would agree that it's not a very good system, and we need to do a better job in finding mental. I'm just trying to get your position on this. You would rather have a gunfight than protect the victim.
We should have a better way of helping those with mental illness.
Absolutely.
Then that's not a gun problem; it's a mental illness problem, which I agree with. We should definitely have,
like I said,
more health capabilities for those mental illnesses.
Like I said, we agree on that. I'm with you on that. But I have a serious problem with you being okay with a convicted felon buying as much ammo as he wants to buy. I cannot believe, quite frankly, sir, we can disagree. That's fine. I cannot believe you're okay with convicted felons, people that have just gotten out of jail, very dangerous people. As you know, there's a good chance when some of these people get out of jail, they're going to commit crimes again. And you're okay with them.
Yes, there's a percentage that is almost guaranteed to reoffend and then go back. We're more.
That's my point. So why would you want somebody like that buying ammo then? I mean, we're trying to protect those. I have no problem with you carrying a gun. I'm not a gun grabber. Okay, that's not my position. I think any responsible person.
I don't imagine that you're the kind of person that wants to go around and just take them from everybody.
Yeah, I'm not that person. Is that what you think?
And I agree that I'm agreeing with you that. And all I'm saying is I agree that people have the individual right to make that decision in self-mastery. You're referring to a very small percentage of a small percentage of the population. 1% of the population is incarceration. Of that 1%, it's an even smaller percentage that's there for violent crimes.
Then why is gun violence up?
Minute numbers, very, very minute numbers.
Then why is gun violence? Then why is gun violence up? Why are we having mass? I'll tell you what. When I was in high school, I'm 40.
Not up. Mass shootings have gone down since this whole quarantine has gone out. And
well, of course. Wait, hold on a second.
Come on.
Hold on a second.
Come on now.
First of all, how can you commit a mass shooting?
Come on.
Schools are closed. The malls are closed. There's no concerts. Yeah, you have some protests, but when you make that argument that mass shootings are down, there's sadly there's no real opportunities to commit mass shootings.
You guys are just waiting to jump on him there.
Well, I can't believe you said that.
You got your opportunity. It's the truth.
You did. Hey, Duncan, you did tee us up there with that.
Well, yeah, but you guys, like the last 5 minutes, you've just been waiting to make that move.
Okay, well, JD, you don't speak for me.
I'm glad you made it.
You don't speak for me, and that's 100% not true.
It was effective. It was necessary.
Okay, well, can I go back to the interview now? Thank you. Why would you make a statement like that? We're all in quarantine. With all due respect, Duncan, and you sound like a smart guy. You do. But why would you make that argument? You know exactly what I'm talking about. We didn't have these types
of
high.
What you're saying. I understand you're saying the opportunity is not there for these tragedies to happen because of the quarantine. I'm aware of what you're saying, okay. and that's a valid argument, and that's fine.
Okay. So let's go back to what I said then. High school shootings. Back when I was in high school, we didn't have these types of things going on.
No.
I mean,
when I was in high school,
so why?
Either.
Right, and you mentioned knives.
The only mass shooting in the school when I was a kid growing up was Columbine.
Columbine, right? Agree. So why do you think
nothing happened tragically like that till long after I'd become an adult? And
right. Of course. So why is it happening now? And do you think it's going to rectify the situation by telling felons they could buy ammunition and it's your right to do so?
I'm not telling felons that they can buy ammunition. That's not what I said. What I said was I believe the individual has the right to choose themselves. I am not in charge or command dominion over other men, just like I do not expect others to do it over to me. So I can't say, yeah, I agree with that person to do that. I'm just saying that's not my decision to make.
Well, there are laws that are put in place.
I'm not in a position of authority, nor do I pretend to be. I'm not making a statement on that at all. I said was I believe in individual self-governance and individual rights, and that the individual should have a right to defend themselves.
Even if they're a felon. Even if they're a felon.
And Duncan, I would argue that
I didn't say even if they're felon. I just said
shootings and mass shootings are up because of an increased amount of psychotropic drugs, especially for younger kids.
Well, I agree that there is definitely
families are a lot of families aren't together, and then you have social,
and that's a big portion of it.
And then you have social media. And social media, I think it puts a lot of pressure on a lot of these young kids, and I think it allows kids to get bullied 24/7 instead of just during school.
To it. It can make them feel more better and have more friends, and it can also make them more lonely. And I'm aware.
So we got a little off
the mental problem they might currently be having.
We got a little off kilter there. His name is Duncan Lemp, Battleborn Igloo, and we appreciate his time. And I want to go back to this protest, and I want to go back, if I may, Duncan, to that original question I asked you. There were thousands of people on the Strip a month ago. There have been plenty of protests in Las Vegas. It hasn't changed Governor Sisolak's mind. He says he's going to be speaking to the doctors, he's going to be speaking to the experts, and is going to be making his decisions methodically based on that. So my question again is, what good is it to have these protests? I mean, I understand you're exercising your right to do so, but in the end, what good is it doing? Because if it was doing any good, Governor Sisolak would have opened everything up by now, no?
Well, I see what you're saying. I think a big portion of it is that there's a lot of people the reason why a lot of people go to the protest is because they have an opinion and then they feel as if they are alone on that. And that's why they go to these protests to get these individuals together. You know, there's a lot of networking involved. At the last one from 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of local politicians that were there to make speeches and make statements. It gives them a chance to network. It gives people. And I think that's why a lot of people do go. I think some people do go because they hope that it will make a difference and that will convince, Sisolak to open up the state. I think some people like us go because we want to create a dialogue. We want to, discuss things with people. We're open to discussing our ideas and beliefs and opinions and listening to others as well. And I think that's the biggest part of the protest. I'm aware that a couple hundred people they're not going to change Sisolak's mind in a day.
So I want to distinguish this. I want to make this extremely clear. So it is safe to say, though, that you and your group, the members of you guys that were down there in military gear, right, and you were displaying your weapons, it wasn't necessarily about opening up the state of Nevada for you guys. It's more about the Second Amendment, right, and getting out your voice and your opinions when it comes to Second Amendment issues. Is that correct?
That's one of the reasons why we're there. The other reason is because we do believe in opening Nevada. We believe in letting people make the choice. If you want to go to work or if you want to go to a restaurant or business, you have that right. You can't make other people go, but making people stop going, forcing them not to go is very much not freedom, and that's what we don't believe. We do believe in opening up Nevada, but yes, we also do believe in exercising your Second Amendment rights.
All right. I mean, like I said, I mean, you understand the perception, and you described it, but the perception of some, not all, is they see you as a threat. They see somebody dressed up. I
don't want anybody to be afraid. I wish not anyone to look at us and be like, "Oh no."
Listen, you sound like
Brian, they don't understand that Nevada is an open carry state.
So
if they have,
my opinion doesn't change.
If they have licenses for these weapons, and if they can legally carry these weapons, now if this was a state that was not an open carry state, then obviously there would be a legitimate reason to think.
Okay, but to me,
but those that actually think that people like him are a threat don't really understand the laws of Nevada.
People were arrested for open carrying.
Okay, listen, the last time. Okay. My opinion has nothing to do with what JD just said. I went to Israel when I was a kid, and I saw a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds with guns on their backs, and it was scary for me then, and it's still scary for me now. Now, listen, Duncan, make no mistake about it. You seem like a really nice guy. I'm not scared of you.
Why was it scary for you? Were they threatening you? Were they intimidating you and specifically you in any way? Or was it just because you didn't understand the situation and therefore you were terrified of what you did not know? Because I've been to other countries. I've been to a lot of countries.
Okay, that's a
lot of times they're carrying up weapons in full display and I'm not.
Okay, very good question.
I knew I was not the threat to them, therefore they
very good question.
I'm aware of that.
That's a very valid question. Let me answer it like this, Duncan, if I may. It's the same reason why if I'm in a bar, right? People are drinking, and as you know, bar fights happen all the time. When I see somebody, of course. When I see somebody with a gun, I'm not the same person. I like to get into it with people. I like to debate people, and sometimes I say offensive things.
You can tell it's your personality. I can imagine if we were in a bar together, you would probably start asking questions about the hat I was wearing or the shirt.
I'm trying. I don't know.
I
listen,
can see that that's your personality, and I get it.
Well, listen, the first thing I said.
The firearm and you don't, that changes your personality or your perception of them and how you respond to them.
Listen, I respect you. I respect you a great deal for the sole sake, if not anything else, is that you serve this country honorably and you're a hero. And I would always tell you that as I tell.
Use the term hero.
Well, and you're a modest guy, and I appreciate that. But I'm just telling you, anybody that served this country honorably, I have a great amount of respect for. I really do.
I appreciate
now,
that.
I do, and you sound like a smart guy. We obviously disagree when it comes to some things with guns. We disagree a lot. No, I'm not going to walk into a bar and I'm not going to walk into a bar and the reason why I brought up the bar scenario is if somebody just has a gun there, it changes one's perception. Some people find it intimidating. Some people find it threatening. And I don't want to live in a world where everybody has their AR-15s out. Now, that's just my opinion.
Correct me if I'm wrong, bro. You just said that you enjoy being combative by nature. But if someone has a weapon in person and you will not be combative to that person.
Is a defensive measure against other people who can be combative towards them. I'm not a large person. I'm not 7 foot tall and 200 pounds of muscle. Having a firearm is my defensive measure against those who are much more larger than I am and that are combative or a personality like to you. It's not meant to threaten others. It's just a line of
and listen, measurement. Duncan, and listen, that's you. All I'm saying is there are some people out there that might not be as bright as you, that might not be as responsible as guns as you are. But let me just say this in closing. I appreciate you coming on. I think it was a good spirited debate. I think we need to have more of these debates as a country. We might not always we might not always agree. Obviously, we don't agree on everything. But my take on you stands the same. I do think you're a hero. I think anybody that risks their lives for this country, for the sake of our freedoms, is a hero. So I appreciate your service, and I also really do appreciate you coming on and stating your case. And, I have no problem with you going out there after talking with you. You seem like a smart guy, and And I appreciate you taking the time to come on, my man. So thanks so much, Duncan. We appreciate you.
Letting me come on, and I appreciate you being civil about it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Duncan. There you go.
Thanks a lot, Duncan. A lot of appreciation.